first of all, I'd like to invite you to New Jersey so you could meet the nearly 1.8 million New Jerseyans who deducted their state and local property tax, and I can assure you, just like me as a property owner in New Jersey, they're not millionaires. They're not multimillionaires. They're about as middle class as can be. And as a state, we give more money to the federal treasury than we get back compared to other states that give less and get more in return. So that classification, which your opening comments or questions, I would seriously dispute. Now, Mr. Secretary, I watch with interest that you acknowledged this morning before the Ways and Means Committee that the SALT cap is having a significant impact on states like New Jersey and other productive states, and that these economies are critical to the national economy. As I said, New Jerseyans pay more than their fair share in taxes, and we punch above our weight economically. So I'm encouraged to hear you, and it appears that maybe you have come to understand the views of some of us who are facing this challenge. But this administration's support of the SALT cap and unprecedented efforts to undermine state-level tax credit program sabotages the success of states like New Jersey and hurts our country as a whole. Mr. Secretary, isn't it fair to say that states have had programs that awarded tax credits in exchange for donations before the President's tax bill?
Well, Senator, as you pointed out, I did make comments on it this morning, so I will repeat them without getting into a debate whether it impacted the high-end individuals or the middle class.
I don't mean to interrupt because it was limited time. That's not my question. Okay. I appreciate. I know what you said at the Ways and Means Committee, and I accept that you've come to some sensitivity of it. But isn't it true that states have had programs before the Trump tax bill that awarded tax credits in exchange for donations?
There have been credits for it, particularly in educational areas.
Yeah, and so there are actually over 30 states that had such programs where they had credits in exchange for donations. So why did the administration reverse decades of precedent and case law by prohibiting taxpayers from deducting donations made to those state funds?
Senator, I'd be happy to come up and walk you through this carefully, but what I would say is what we tried to do was preserve the intent of these programs in the context of our obligation to monitor the $10,000 SALT. So the idea was not to allow states to create a workaround.
But this existed, Mr. Secretary, before the SALT is what I'm saying. These states, by the way, mostly red states, including of many members of this committee, their states had these charitable deductions for purposes that would help them with their taxes, and for years they went on without a consequence. And all of a sudden, states like New Jersey come along and do the exact same thing as these states had for years, and then all of a sudden we get a different ruling. Now, I will say this much, at least you're affecting all of the states by those rulings at the end of the day, not just New Jersey. But in essence, it seems to me that what you tried to do is to crack down on blue states that created the same exact circumstances that red states had, and for years, tax preparers in those red states would say this is the easiest way to deal with avoiding hitting the alternative minimum tax. So they had it for a different purpose. But the IRS, for years, allowed this to go on. IRS actually had rulings that said it was okay. And then all of a sudden, when states like New Jersey try to deal with the challenge for their taxpayers, it was ruled unacceptable. So, you know, those of us who believe that and get concerned that the IRS is being weaponized see this as a classic, perfect example of that set of circumstances. I hope we can work together to find a way to create relief for taxpayers like myself who live on my salary and who have a property and who are being affected by the SALT deduction. But far beyond me, we've got hundreds of thousands of New Jerseyans who aren't millionaires who are being affected by this and being treated poorly at the end of the day.